Dear students, let's continue our topic indigo. We are this time at the page number 49. Open your books at that page, and we're in the middle of the page. At this point, Gandhi arrived in Champa. We already know some peasant named Shukla who followed Gandhi everywhere and asked him, sought his appointment to come to Champaran because he was a sharecropper, he was a tenant, he was tilling the land of the landlords, and these landlords had given them and on rent, and they sought from them that 50% of the whole holdings of their land they have to cultivate indigo, and that indigo has to be given as a rent to their landlords. And this was an agreement already before them, and so they had signed it. This was going on all the while. But now they had got the information, these landlords, because they were English people, Englishmen. They knew that some synthetic indigo was made in Germany. So they thought that it's useless to work here. Instead of, they asked them to, okay, now we release you from this agreement. Now you have to pay the compensation of to us instead of the 15% crop of indigo. Some people, some peasants were ready to give them compensation, but some were not. They have to hire the lawyers in courts, and this was going all around. And in the meanwhile, the common people, these illiterates, these people, they came to know about the development that something, some synthetic indigo is was made in this Germany. So that's why these people, these Englishmen, these landlords have backtracked, and they have charged them compensation. Instead of that, that was not fair. So they sought them the money back, whatever they have, whatever money they have just paid them. So at this juncture, Gandhi arrived. This was the development that was going on in Champaran at that point. Gandhi arrived. So today's lecture, he began by trying to get the facts. He, as soon as he arrived there, he began to collect the information, the facts about the developments there. Gandhi. First, he visited secretary of the British Landlords Association. These landlords, they had their own association there. They had their secretary, and he met him to seek the information from what type of what is going on around there. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. He categorically refused to give information. Gandhi was not that famous at that time. So he did not, the secretary did not know him, and so he just denied to give him information. Gandhi answered that he was no outsider, means he is one among these people. Next, Gandhi called on the British official, commissioner of the Tirth division in which the Champaran district lay. Gandhi met British official commissioner who was appointed there as a commissioner by British government. He met him, and this Champaran was the part of that district. The commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me. He proceeded to bully me, means just to threaten me. Well, just a minute. To oppress, to harm, to intimidate means bully. This man, Gandhi now reports, well, this proceeded to bully me means he proceeded to oppress me, to harm me, to intimidate me, this commissioner, me, and advised me forthwith to leave Terror, to leave this place. He asked me to leave this place immediately. He ordered me, he commanded me. Gandhi did not leave. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. The capital of Champaran area, that is called Motihari. and he proceeded to that place instead of leaving. Several lawyers accompanied him. Many lawyers were with him. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. Vast multitude, a huge number of people maybe. They have come there, they greeted him, they welcomed him. He went to a house and using it as headquarters. He went to some house and he made it a headquarters for his this moment that he has initiated there. Continued his investigation is now, but he is still continue. He's only investigating the things, the development, the whatever. He is collecting the information. That's why he continued his investigation. A report came in that a peasant had been maltreated in a nearby village. Some reports somewhere some peasant was maltreated, badly treated in a nearby village. This information came to him. Gandhi decided to go and see. He decided to see himself. The next morning, he started out on the back of an elephant. He mounted an elephant back and he rode an elephant and he went towards the place. He had not proceeded far when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return to town. He had not proceeded far. He is not far away that a superintendent of police messenger overtook him. Maybe he might have been riding on some horse or some other conveyance, and he ordered him to return. He asked him not to go ahead, but rather to return back to Champaran. In his carriage, Gandhi complied. Well, he asked him to come in his carriage back. He complied, he obeyed him. The messenger drove Gandhi home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. This messenger of police officer, drove Gandhi home, that headquarters, where he served him with an official notice. He gave him notice on behalf of government. What was the notice? That was to quit Champaran immediately, to leave. Quit means to leave immediately this place. Gandhi signed a receipt for the notice. He gave him the receipt on the notice. And what he wrote on it that he would disobey the order. On the note, I received your notice, but I disobey. I won't obey your order. I won't leave this place. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons to appear in court the next day. With the result, in consequence means with the result, Gandhi received a summons. He was summoned by the court to be in court next day. All night Gandhi remained awake because tomorrow he had to attend the court. He remained. He telegraphed. Why? Because he telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. He sent a message through telegraph to Rajendra Prasad and asked him to come with some influential friends there from Bihar to this place, because he has to be present before the court next day. He sent instructions to the ashram, where from he had come, Allahabad, near Allahabad. He sent the instruction there. He wired a full report to the viceroy. He also sent a wire, means the telegraph. He wired a full report in which he has written the complete report to the viceroy of that time. Morning found the town of Mutihari black with peasants. Morning, early in the morning, when they wake up, found the town of Mutihari black with peasants, means from every nook and corner the peasants have poured in. So the whole place had turned black. They did not know Gandhi's record in South Africa, though they did not know how he had fought against the apartheid in South Africa. They did not have the knowledge of that. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. They had merely heard that Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble. Only they knew that the Mahatma had come to help them, but he is now in trouble. That's why these peasants. But they did not know how resolute, how strong man he was, how he had fought in South Africa against apartheid. Their spontaneous demonstration, all of their own will, they demonstrated of their own, means they were not just asked to do that. In thousands people have come around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. Around the courthouse these people have demonstrated, but that was spontaneous, that was of their own will. They have come the beginning of their liberation from fear of British. But this was a sign that they are getting liberated from fear. Already they were fear, they could not raise their voice against the oppressors, against the Britishers. But this was the sign that they collected there, they assembled there, and they have raised their voice against these oppressors. So this means they are they are beginning their liberation from fear of the British. The officials felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. Now, because a huge number of peasants have gathered there, so officials who have to maintain the law and order, they felt helpless without the cooperation of Gandhi. He helped them regulate the crowd. To manage the crowd, he helped them. He was polite and friendly. Gandhi was very polite, very friendly. He was giving them concrete proof that their might, hitherto dreaded and unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians. He told them, giving them concrete proofs were given to them that their might, their power, hitherto so far dreaded, was feared and unquestioned, was not questioned by these poor peasants, simple people, could be challenged by Indians. Now the Indians could challenge their power, the fear they have unleashed there. That will be questioned. That will be now challenged by the Indians. Now he gave the concrete proof. I mean, look, means the look here. The huge number of these poor people have now gathered. They have just challenged you. The government was baffled. Government was baffled by this. Means they were perplexed and troubled. Government was baffled and perplexed by the whatever happened. The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Prosecutor means prosecuting officer, means who on behalf of government, who was the advocate there. He requested the judge to postpone the trial for some days, to put off the trial for some days, not to hold the trial today, because the situation was not under control outside. Apparently the authorities wished to consult their superiors. It was evident, apparently the authorities wished to consult their superiors. They wanted to seek the guidance from their superiors, the higher ups. Gandhi protested against the delay, but he protested, well, I have come here to attend the court. Why they are delaying? What is the matter? He read his statement pleading guilty. He read the statement in which he pleaded guilty. Well, he was involved, means I am involved. Whatever you charge me with, I am involved there. I plead guilty. He was involved. He told the court in a conflict of duties. On the one hand, not to set a bad example. He did not want to set bad example as a lawbreaker. He did not. He was a lawbreaker. He said, well, he pleaded guilty, but he did not want to be a bad example of a lawbreaker. On the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. On the other hand, he had come here on the humanitarian grounds and national service for his own people. These are two separate things. He gave this statement to the court. He disregarded the order to leave. He did not obey the order to leave the place, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience. He wrote there that, well, he did not obey the order of the court to leave, or the police to leave the place. He did not obey, but it was not because to in obedience to the higher law of our being. It was for want of respect for lawful authority, not because that he should get the respect from lawful authority, but it was because he wanted to obey his own conscience, voice of conscience. He asked the penalty due. So whatever the penalty is due, he asked for that. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after 2 hours recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. Gandhi refused. Well, in the meanwhile, the judge who announced, he declared that he would pronounce the sentence, means whatever proceedings was conducted there, and now he is going to pronounce the sentence, pronounce the judgment after 2 hours. And in the meanwhile, he asked Gandhi to furnish the bail for 120 minutes bail. Gandhi refused. For 120, he will be at free, he will be on bail, he had to pay for that. So Gandhi refused this thing. The judge released him without bail. Okay, you are free without bail. When the court reconvened, again assembled, again court convened, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. No, he is not in a position to deliver the judgment this time. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. He said, well, you are free to do your activities, whatever you want to do. Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. In the meanwhile, these lawyers had arrived there to plead his case, because he had informed through telegram to Rajendra Prasad to bring the lawyers and some influential people here. They conferred with Gandhi. Confer means held a conference. They conferred with Gandhi. They held a conference with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Well, what would he do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Why? The senior lawyer replied, they had come to advise and help him. They have come for his help to advise him on this matter. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise, and they would go home, because the people would leave for their home. There would nobody to. That's why we have come here. What about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Well, you have come here to help me, to guide me, to advise me. But what about the sharecroppers? Their problem. Gandhi asked. The lawyers withdrew to consult. They came out to consult each other. Rajendra Prasad Rajendra Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations. Upshot means the final and eventual outcome. Whatever was the result of their meeting, their conversation outside, Rajendra Prasad came with the outcome of their meeting, of their consultation, and said they thought amongst themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger, and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants. Now, in their consultation, they arrived at this conclusion that the Gandhi is totally a stranger, and he has nothing to do with these peasants of Champar, and yet he was prepared to go to prison for sake of these people. If they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts, but also those who claim to have served the peasants. These people are the residents of the area. they have, according to their claim, they have served the peasants, should go home. How should they go home? It would be shameful desertion. Means they are the act of deserting, the act of living in lurch. This will be such an act, so they should not leave, and that's not fair. They accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him they were ready to follow him into jail. Well, they are now ready to follow him to. If he goes to jail, they will follow him. They will also go to. They will court arrest. The Battle of Champaran is won, but the Battle of Champaran was won. This was a landmine event that happened in the history of struggle of independence, he exclaimed. Then he took a piece of paper and divided the group into pairs and put down the order in which each pair was to court arrest. So he made the several groups and divided them into groups, into pairs, and asked them how they will court their arrest on their turn. Several days later, Gandhi received a written communication from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. But now he was sent a written communication from lieutenant governor that this case have been dropped and this will not be pursued further. Civil disobedience had triumphed. Means this was a civil disobedience that was successful, that succeeded. The first time in modern India, this was the first step in the of the civil disobedience that succeeded in the history of Indian modern Indian history of freedom struggle. Gandhi and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct a far-flung inquiry into the grievances of the farmers. Now they are released from this court case, and now they were free to go anywhere. And so Gandhi, along with the lawyers, they proceeded. They went to conduct the far-flung inquiries. So they would conduct the complete inquiry about the grievances, about the problems of these farmers. Depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written down. Deposition means witnesses, and they offered the depositions, they offered the witnesses, these people witness some out of court testimony. That is what is it? These depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written, their witness as a witness, and notes made on other evidences, whatever evidence they have collected, and they have made the notes on it. Documents were collected from these people. The documents were, means they are now completely on work, and so they would like to make the whole thing clear to them. By taking the evidence from these people and other evidences and collecting other material relating their case, the whole area throbbed with the activity of the investigators and the vehement protests of the landlords. So this the whole area was abuzz with the activity of these investigators, means these people who followed Gandhi, and vehement protests by the landlords. But they also held the protests. Very strong protests were held by these landlords. In June, Gandhi was summoned to Sir Edward Gate. The lieutenant governor was at that time Sir Edward Gate. He was summoned by him. Before he went, he met leading estates and again laid detailed plans for civil disobedience if he should not return. Well, he met these people, his estates, means other people who followed him, their advocates and other people, and they chalked out a detailed plan for civil defense if he should not return. Means if he was arrested, how they would conduct the civil disobedience. Gandhi had 4 protracted interviews. Gandhi had 4 protracted means lasting for a long time. Protracted means lasting. Gandhi had 4 protracted interviews with the lieutenant governor that lasted for a longer time, who as a result appointed an official commission of inquiry into the indigo sharecroppers situation. So Lieutenant Governor had these meetings, 4 meetings, 4 interviews with Gandhi, and as a result, he appointed an official commission of inquiry. He just appointed into the indigo sharecroppers into there, so that could look into the matter of sharecroppers, their grievances and all that. The commission consists of landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants. The main members of the inquiry commission were landlords and government officials, and only representative of these peasants was Gandhi. Gandhi remained in Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months. Uninterrupted means continuously remained there for initially there for 7 months, and then again for several shorter visits. He made shorter visits again after that. The visit undertaken casually on the entreaty of an unlettered peasant in the expectation that it would last a few days occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life. The visit undertaken casually on the entreaty means on the request of an unlettered means uneducated, illiterate peasant, that person Rajkumar, peasant, in the expectation he had undertaken this casual visit on his behalf, on his request, with this intention, in the expectation that it would last a few days, but occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life, but it occupied a whole one complete year there to resolve the issue of these indigo sharecroppers, and he was involved in this matter. I think this is do. Let's finish today's topic with this. Okay.